And welcome back to the desk for the SPL. Set number 2 about to start. We can't say enough without thanking our title chair sponsor for all of this, Maxnomic, where you can get your own personal seat at needforseat.com. Use code SMITEMAX, get yourself a nice little discount code onto that one, and pick yourself one of those little swanky chairs. But Jim Tucker and Agro joining me this time onto the desk. We're going to be talking about the Solar Scarabs and the Tartarus Titans match that's going to be going here. And a lot of shakeup onto this one. It seems that the Scarabs like playing their former teammates the next week that it happens here. Now Layers going to be subbing in here onto the Titans roster.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, Layers gets the boot off of the Scarabs team, and all of a sudden it just so happens that the Titans have been struggling. We've been talking about Scary D and whether or not he's adjusting well enough in the jungle all year long. They decide to bench him for this week. Don't know what the long-term plans are going to be quite yet for the Titans, but I imagine a good showing here for Layers up against his former team would do some good for his stock moving forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game for the Titans here, taking on the Solar Scarabs, like we said. Solar Scarabs with their new junglers. They've brought Scream into the mix-up, and he looked like he's been fairly comfortable along his new roster. A little bit of rough matchups for it. And the Tartarus Titans do have an even bigger matchup later in the week. They will have to face on the Bolts, who finally got their first loss here in the game previously that we got to see here on the desk.
Hey, I mean, all of a sudden, the Kings are right in a good spot. The Bolts only one game up on that team, so that's set for the Tartarus Titans and the Bolts. So it's going to be pretty important a little bit later this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one for them. But moving in here and kind of talking about the Tartarus Titans, there's kind of one player that's been synonymous with kind of being that pillar front line for them, and it has been Aurora out of that support role. He's been making one of their primary shot callers. He's been teamed up with Cyclone Spin as well for a long time amongst that duo lane. I'm really going to be focusing a lot on this duo lane. Yes, we have the new jungler, but let's look at the consistencies they've at least had with it and looking at Aurora.
Hey, and they need Aurora to be the guy for this team if this team wants to turn it around. It can't just be a different jungler and playing it a little bit differently that way. When Aurora is allowed to do his game plan, I still think that he should be feared for sure. But it just feels like this team loses their identity at times. And just keeping those sort of things in mind is so critical for a team like this, how they want to play the game. And oftentimes we talk about wanting to play through your backliners, and when you've got Paul and Cyclone Spin as your backline, it's really hard to not want to play around those guys. But I think Aurora's the type of player that I want to play around when he's my support. You know, I want to make sure that he's a focal point of our game plan. And I think that maybe bringing in a substitute in the jungle role, taking some spotlight off of that role for this team, and trying to move some of the weight towards the more established players on the roster and allowing Aurora to potentially take a bigger role in the game plan would be a really good thing for the Tartarus Titans, because Aurora is still one of the best to ever do it. I don't think it's not good enough for them to try and make him a focal point of their game plan.
Well, we do have Aurora standing by, so we can kind of talk to him and maybe pick his brain a little bit here onto the sub that he's brought in there. Aurora, how you doing today, man?
Good. Before the interview, Moswell wanted a shout-out, so shout-out to Moswell. He said he has a Platinum Border Jean-Qui Raijin Thoth. I think I'm forgetting one, but he's a GM player, so he just wanted to let everybody know that.
Well, I guess the shout-out to Moswell onto that one. Coming into this game, it's a new week, and you've got a new jungler. You guys have been scary, and now you've got Layers subbing in for you guys this weekend. What's the team energy been like? Have you got any scrims under your belt with him? What's it kind of been like having him on the team so far?
Yeah, we've scrimmed this week with him. So far, so good.
Well, short and sweet, and on to that one. I mean, looking into it, you know, Layers is going to have to make some strides here. He's going up against now a new jungler and his former teammates onto that one. What's kind of his excitement level having to face off against now his former teammates?
I think he's excited. I'm excited too. I'm just ready to play some games and try our best to win.
Well, hopefully you can get the win here. Best of luck in your games, Aurora.
Thank you.
Well, short and sweet to the point. They're excited for it.
Except about Moswell. Aurora is down to talk about Moswell.
Oh, yeah, all day
long. As long as he wants to. But that's usually how Aurora is when it comes to getting into the game and that kind of stuff. You know, he's such a goofy, fun guy the vast majority of the time, but he flips the switch, man, and he is locked in when it comes to those competitive moments. And I think that, just like I said, having a breath of fresh air, whether or not Layers is the long-term plan for the Titans, or you know, if he's even a good fit for this team, honeymoon periods are strong. You know, when it comes to playing with new players, those flaws take a long time to manifest themselves a lot of the time. And those first few weeks, you need probably about a week to get correct with what you want to do in your game planning and your god pools and that kind of stuff and getting that all in order. And then after that, you've got a little stretch where everything is just gravy. Everything's going great. And if they can get into that little zone, then the Titans I could see starting to make it work even before, understanding that there's going to have to be some maturation behind the scene for this team to probably work if this is going to be their roster long term.
Well, I guess maybe that's good news for the Scarabs then, as they've had a little bit of time to mature here with their new jungler, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit about Inbound here. One of the still consistents among the team between him, Baronic, and SOT, able to still remain onto this roster, even if SOT was out for a few days. It was the shortest 2 weeks of my lifetime onto that one, but probably shortest 2 weeks onto his. So kind of digging in here on Inbound. Now, one thing about our previous two supports we talked about on the last set was they have a lot of the very similar god pool. These two players, I think they're kind of opposites almost here.
Yeah, a lot of differences between these two. And the way that they like to utilize each other's sort of support styles is oftentimes a lot different as well. I want to see Inbound continue to play these more aggressive things. I mean, we've seen him on stuff like Geb. We've seen him on stuff like Kepri, if memory serves. And those are fine. But this is the pick I want to see. Put this man on Herc. He's nuts on this pick. He is really, really good at this god. Let him play it. Let him get a lead for Stewart in that lane, and maybe that can be the way forward for this squad. I've been very impressed with Inbound on this pick, and I don't know why they don't, the Emoja and that kind of stuff. Ban it, ban it. We don't need to see it. No. We got that. Put this man on Hercules. If it's open, I expect the Scarabs to take it.
And it's kind of funny how he's going up against one of the forefathers of the Hercules support in Aurora onto this one. Yep. So maybe we'll see a little bit of combating there for that support Hercules onto it. But I'm in agreement with you. These very aggressive, hardcore frontline supports like the Hercules, even the Circuit, I wouldn't mind onto it. But these more defensive style Guardians, the Emoji just hasn't worked out. I mean, statistically showing he has not succeeded well on these Emojis and these more defensive style Guardians. I think this Hercules is going to be the premier pick that I'm looking for him to pick up. Maybe he's got something else. Like the Fafnir is still available for him onto that one. But there's a lot of discussion to be had, I think, amongst the support god pool. I mean, even looking back over at Aurora, he's not still running all the same standards onto it. You see things like Fenrir coming out of that guy. So we're going to see a lot of battling here in these picks and bans.
No doubt about it. And I think you're right to point out the things like Circuit and Hercules for Inbound. Scream has looked very good in early game situations, putting him on things like Erlong Shen, letting him control the pace of the early game, putting Inbound on something that can match that type of pressure. And I want to see the Scarabs, not many teams these days in this meta are really going all out for early pressure. We still see quick games. We still see 21, 22-minute games. But a lot of times it, cracks wide open at 10 minutes, and then it's a stomp from there. Give me the stomp from 3 minutes, man. Give me the stomp from 4 minutes. I want to see them on the red buffs, on the purple buffs, on the blue buffs, being aggressive, because I think that's the idea. It's an easier play style to manage because you only have to be really clean for like 10 minutes. And if you're clean enough for those 10 minutes, your lead will carry you through the rest of the game, even if you make a mistake here and there. I want to see them put all the eggs in the basket. It's risky, but I think that they've got the players to do it.
And we get to see what that basket of eggs is going to look like here in the picks and bans for game number 1. And I'm kind of in agreement with you here. And it's really funny to see the lower seeded teams are typically the ones that play the most aggressive. We saw it out of the Valkyries yesterday. We've seen it out of the Scarabs before, where they do like going for these red and purple invades in these early fights. Valkyries made a name for themselves, and they drug that game on for 45 minutes by the end of it all, and even still in the second game they were able to bring it through. So I'm curious to see if the Scarabs are going to bring that same level of energy. They've had their time now to kind of mature with Scream, kind of see what his identity is going to bring for this team. So I'd like to see that early aggression. Honestly, either of these teams could pull that so easily.
I think so too. And immediately the Scarabs, despite being in first pick, they banned Artemis first overall, and that's somewhat telling to me here, J-Mac, that Artemis is the type of pick that even if you don't want it necessarily with what your game plan is going to be, you can probably get the enemy team to ban that for you in second pick. So I think a slight mistake, even if it's just in ordering of their bans here for the Solar Scarabs. If you want to ban Osiris, Erlong Shen, and then go with the Artemis, I think I'd like that a little bit more. I'm never a fan of banning a top pick first overall because it makes the picks and bans much easier to adjust to for the Titans.
I think Baronic might be a little happy here that he doesn't have to play the Tiamat like he's kind of been forced into by so many teams. That does get banned away alongside the Terra. That's been a very popular pick there for Bobby in that support role. We do see that Artemis, like you talked about, banned away along with the Osiris and the Erlong Shen. A little bit of a shout there to Scream, who's been playing that god a little bit more consistently in these last few weeks of play. Still one more ban available for the Titans. Curious to see where they'll make their option towards it. Do you think they go for that mid lane ban with maybe a Morgan Le Fay? No. The answer to that's going to be the Fenrir.
I like this pick, though, of where they ban, because now the Solar Scarabs, wow, they take Yemoja. Okay, so that is not what I was expecting.
No.
I was expecting the Solar Scarabs to take Morgan Le Fay, and then you get to go Yemoja plus whatever you want, plus, you get Raijin before the ban phase. So you end up with a strong mage no matter what, and you end up with a little bit more. As it stands, this is still fine if you're the Tartarus Titans, but because you get Morgan Le Fay and Odin. I knew there was one pick that had gotten through, and it does happen to be the Odin, who was good against Yemoja, so I think the Scarabs kind of picking themselves a counter matchup in this spot. And the Titans have shown that they're willing to go with this Odin in support, where other teams might not be. So this gets even more value for the Titans because they know that it's a flex selection for them, and the Scarabs can't really be sure of where that Odin's going to line up.
Yeah, that is kind of the one interesting portion of both of these teams is they flex gods that many other teams wouldn't. Normally Hercules, more often than not, is going to be thrown into that solo lane as of recent, but Inbound is one of those players who still will play it into the support role, or he can give it over to SOT to throw it into that solo lane as well. Same here over to the Titans with the Odin. They can give the Odin over to Benji, or Aurora could just grab it for himself. We'll see where they end up lining all of that out. Gilgamesh and Ram locked in. Very early Wheelish locked in here on the side of the Titans to try and synergize with that Morgan Le Fay.
And this is a pick that Layers likes quite a bit. He's an Awilix fan for sure. And when you think of Awilix was going to be on this match, you would have potentially expected it on the other side for the Scarabs, knowing that there's the Odin. But with the Gilgamesh, with the Yemoja, remember that whenever Yemoja was really pretty new to the SPL and dominating at a pretty high level, Awilix was one of those first counter picks that we saw start to come through, because anytime she or one of her teammates goes through Riptide, they are gravity surgeable. So that is a pretty good matchup for him in that way. And plus Morgan Le Fay has the knockup with the Dragonflight. So I like this Awilix pick pretty early here for the Titans.
When you see Merlin and Kakulin as the first two bans coming through, Titans taking some shots here at the mid laner to try and push Baronic a little further into that god pool. The Tiamat's gone, the Morgan Le Fay's gone, now the Merlin. Would not be surprised to maybe see
right?
a Raijin ban here. That's exactly where my mind was going, is ban the Raijin, put him a little bit further into the god pool. And when the Raijin goes down, where does Baronic go to next?
Man, that's a good question. Hera is the god that we've seen. They actually don't ban Raijin, they ban Loki. So if they decide to take the Merlin away before the Raijin, I probably would not have done it that way, because I think Raijin is probably just a little bit better. Though Baronic has shown that he's very good on the Merlin. A little surprised that this is the way they decided to go. Loki, I suppose, just one of those power farmers that once he gets into the later stages, hard to shut down. And Scream has got to be the primary win condition for the Scarabs these days, so taking one of those carry picks out of his hands does make sense to me. But I think that I would have been pretty tempted to double ban onto Baronic there and see which direction he goes after that.
And kind of in response to that, it's a very interesting methodology of banning the Izanami. Now, I know Cyclone is probably the most popular player to throw this one out there as far as the SPL goes. He's not the only one playing the Iza, but he's definitely the one playing it the most. It feels a little strange throwing a ban that direction when they still could have maybe gone for a couple of other spots onto there, maybe another support ban onto there, maybe a solo lane ban. I just don't know how I feel about an Izanami ban.
I mean, it's guaranteed pressure in your duo lane. It's really been Panda Cat and Cyclone's been playing it. And if you're going to go something like Odin Izanami, that is such guaranteed pressure in your duo lane that it can be hard to fight against. So I don't mind the Izanami ban here for the Scarabs. I think it fits what the Titans are looking to do with this draft. I mean, Odin, Awilix, those are early game slanted gods that are going to try and get you some leads and control space in team fights. And Izanami is just one of those gods that would contribute to that pretty well. So I don't have a problem with the Izanami ban necessarily, especially knowing how much Cyclones liked it as of late.
SOT is going to be able to get the Cerberus over into the solo lane pick, and a Raijin on the side for Baronic, but Ares as a 10th pick lock-in here for the Titans. That one most certainly going on to Aurora. I don't think we'll see Benji piling that one into the solo.
No,
not quite the Deathwalker Ares that we used to see back in the days of yore. But yeah, Ares going over here for Aurora.
And hey, you've got Yamoja, no CC immunity, so she's going to have to build beads. Gilgamesh now loses out on the ability to build Blink at level 1, has to build beads, cuts his initiation time and more than half, basically, because he has to wait until 12 in order to get his Blink. I think the Ares pick makes a lot of sense here, especially when you consider Aurora's history on this pick. And this is what I'm talking about. A little bit more focus on Aurora and factoring him into your game plan. This is more of a carry god out of support, and I like that for the Titans. The one thing I'll say is that it is going to be difficult for him to find characters that don't have beads. Even the ones that don't have CC immunity in the kit, there's not a lot to burn those beads. You're looking at just Gravity Surge or just No Escape. And that tells me that Aurora's job is not to pull people, it's to get beads and let Layers be the one to pull people and let him be the focal point here for the game.
Yeah, well, that is kind of going to be their big one onto it. You're completely right onto that one. Just no other major peel that you really need to be. I mean, an Odin Spear, maybe here and there onto that one. Unless you pre-beats the Dragonflight out of Morgan Le Fay, nothing really to go with the beats on there. Maybe the Fear from the Sigil onto that one. So yeah, this one definitely looks like they're trying to put a lot of faith in Layers, and it's an interesting one to put a lot of faith on in his first week on your team.
It is, but I mean, he's shown that he can do it at the SPL level for sure, and now he's got a really, really talented team around him. That Scarabs team is super scrappy, and we're able to make a lot of things happen. I loved their mentality. I loved their ability to bounce back. But you look at the talent on each of these teams and which one has more. I mean, there's no doubt it's a team with numerous world champions on their side. There's no contest. So seeing how Layers is going to be able to adapt to this environment and probably not be the hard carry of this team. He's got to allow his backline to shine a little bit more and play a less selfish style. Can he do that on a fairly short notice? We'll have to wait and see.
Looking at the two drafts before into game number one, which draft kind of fits that team a little bit more here? Do you think that this is a Titan-centric draft, or do you think this is more of the Scarab-centric draft?
I like the Titans in this one.
Okay, good answer onto that one for it. We'll see if the Titans can take it and win game number one, or will the Scarabs show up to play on this one? We're going to take it to the casters to find out.
It's a fun day to be a Titans or Scarabs fan because you get a nice, interesting matchup. It's Gormizer and Mifflin here for the Scarabs and the Titans. Layers versus his old squad. And what I'm going to latch onto here, Mifflin, the true test. Bobby has a 12.5% win rate on this Yamoja this year. They have won a single game picking it up. And we'll get to see if Scream is going to be the difference maker for him. But it just feels like there's so much to latch onto. It's so much fun to have.
So if the Scarabs win this, Bobby's win rate goes down to 11.5%.
Yeah,
and
it goes down to 11.
If he loses, 11.
It goes down to 11.
Yeah, and if he wins, up to 25%.
Yeah, it doubles if he wins this game. He's only won one.
Well, then this is big dubs for Bobby. Anytime he lines up, that's going to be a good look for him. I think it's almost worth noting as well, it's a little bit of a grudge match here. Layers removed from the Scarabs very recently, now getting a chance to shoot back at his boys, but it's stiff competition inside of Scream, and, well, Scream's been called the GOAT for good reason.
And noted subbing for this weekend. And I would even argue a little bit of shade thrown by Genetics towards Layers during that interview. And we'll see if we get to see, well, I guess which Layers we get to see. The one that was maybe perhaps deserving of the kick, or one that can help herald the Titans' victory. As Aurora's going to get aggressive here. It's been like a little bit of pokes and prods from both teams here and there. There's a little bit of a I don't even know if I want to call it a skirmish over on the mid camps. Now it's Layers hanging out around the duo lane, but he's not going to do anything about it. Oracle Harpies screams too much to him.
Yeah, and I think it is up to the junglers in this match to really establish the pace. Both Scream and Layers playing gods that are incredibly potent inside of the early game. I mean, I've said that Feather Step is essentially an execute once you hit level 6, and Dropkick is one of the best level 1 CCs inside of the game. So I'm very excited to see the pace that they both decide to establish. Mannequin Scepter is going to be the pickup for both of them, so their damage output at this point incredibly high.
Chains out onto inbound, a nice return stun from the Yamoja. It's going to quell that for a little bit. You can see on the mini-map and in the duo lane, Roar and Cyclone pushing up as hard as they can against Inbound and Stewart. Kind of recognizing, I don't even want to, like, it's going to sound mean towards the Scarabs with the skill gap. I mean, Aurora and Cyclone spin, that's a literal world championship lane that you are currently against. And I think recognizing that they have a lot of pressure that they can push up against this Emoja and Rom, and forcing them to feel at least a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, Roar and Cyclone have been playing together for what, going on 4 years now at the SPL level. Stewart is on his second week in the SPL, and, well, his second week with Bobby, who's only been here for about 2 years at the SPL level. So Tartarus Titans likely going to be looking to play through their long lane in order to establish pressure, and they've got a good draft for it. Between the damage output of Ares and the lockdown potential of that, what can be up to like a 15-second cripple, as well as just the lockdown potential of a Chernobog in the early game as well, means that this is a high kill pressure lane. So the Solar Scarabs have to rely on the sustain that Yamoja affords them, and likely the wave clear that she brings as well.
So I'm going to milk this conversation while we can have it. Layers. Actually, you know what? Let's roll it back a little bit. Scary
Okay.
D. Two-time back-to-back world champion.
Yes.
Great player.
Yep.
Not a jungler.
No.
And so that is the big framing point I have for the Titans right now. They've been playing, admittedly, with someone who was fresh to the jungle all year up to this point. Layers was one of the most wanted players after SCC last year and after the last few times people have been able to see him coming into the jungle here. And this is going to make a difference in the 3v3 and the 2v2s early on, or at least it should, because Layers is a little more proactive than what we've gotten to see out of Scary D. But is there enough time? I mean, they said they'd been scrimming with him. Is that even enough time to get some of that synergy online? I mean, Paul and Scary played together for 2 years straight.
I mean, there's something to be said about the honeymoon phase in any given match. I thought maybe we'd see the no escape come out from Aurora here, but very often when you join a team for the first time or when you're new to a team, there's that phase of, oh, this is new, I love this is awesome. Like right when you buy a new car or you get a new girlfriend or something along those lines, you're like, okay, things are rolling through. And I think that it's pretty fair to say that the Tartarus Titans should still be within that honeymoon phase with Layers, but there's also an argument to be made of they haven't really had the chance to play with a true assassin player. Scary D's not locking in the Awilish. He's playing things like the Raven, the Osiris. The closest they've had, the Tartarus Titans that is, to this style of play is Scary D's Loki.
Yep.
And even when Scary D was playing the Loki, that is a very solo agent style. He's left on his own to play however he wants, to dive wherever he wants. But Layers has to synergize with this team. Aggro brought it up on the desk. It's essentially his job to make use of any beads that Aurora is able to burn. And, well, 5 beads on the side of the Scarabs means that even if Aurora only gets 1 target, Layers has to find the value there.
And it's got to feel a little bit like a job application or like an interview at a certain extent, right? Like
Please keep me.
You unfortunately got kicked from the Scarabs, and now you're like, okay, I need to prove my worth to these other SPL teams to showcase that I am needed. Well, we're about 5.5 minutes in. It's a steady 500 gold right now in favor of the Titans. No first blood on the board. So all of that's coming through farming. There was a Chernobog ult getting the slow applied. It doesn't seem like Cyclone's going to go for the rotation. I think he dove over into his lane, got a lot of damage onto Stewart, but not quite the kill. It's Layers going for an invade here. Inbound's the one who's caught out. He's taking a little bit of chunks damage.
Yikes.
The gravity surge over the wall, not enough to pull him in, but it doesn't matter. Paul still finds the damage to get the kill for the first blood. Veronic's returning a little bit onto Paul. He's a little under half health. No escape. Comes through for Aurora. Not going to pull anybody this time. 2 pairs of beads burn, and the Titans are going to walk away.
Man, Layers does a lot there. The Puma over the wall for the knockup essentially clinches that kill. Bobby would have likely gotten out of there, but no, forced to use the beads, loses his life. Baronic forced to use his beads and his ultimate, but does at least maintain his heartbeat throughout the entirety of that one, and it's actually Paul who gets credit for the first blood. And we've talked about Morgan Le Fay ad nauseum here at the SPL level, but not too often we get to talk about Morgan Le Fay getting a massive lead, and First Blood is exactly that. Great start for the mid laner on Tartarus Titans.
Now pushing themselves up a little over 1,000 gold in the lead. From 5.5 minutes to 6.5 minutes, it changed night and day for the Titans all of a sudden, being able to take that massive chunk of gold into their pockets. Granted, when you split it up among all 5 members, it's maybe not enough, but it is a little bit to start and to turn a game into what could be a runaway Scorpion over on the left-hand side ends up going towards the Scarabs. Right-hand side still yet to be taken. Well, that starts to bring up the conversation of that Gold Fury as it's going to be spawning zone.
You know what? I actually really like Paul's build here, Gore. I mean, he goes for the Chronos Pendant very early on. That is a ton of CDR. And what does Morgan Le Fay do? I think she's almost kind of reminiscent of a New Age Thoth in that she kind of attacks you from a little bit further away than the majority of other mages in the cast can. And she's got great poke potential. The Dragonflight now going to be up a little bit more often to make sure that he's feeling safe in the back line. The first ability, the Sigil Mastery. I mean, one of the best pokes inside the game as well as a CC ability. I think this is very smart. And then immediately going back into that tree. Could be a Tahuti up next. Could be a Karen's Coin for penetration. Maybe more likely the Karen's Coin. But already, I think Paul, leveraging the fact that he's off to a hot start, goes for a little bit more unorthodox item in that first slot.
Maybe only upset with himself, like, man, if this hadn't been a Chronos Pin, if this had been a Rada Tahuti, or not a Rada Tahuti, Karen's Coin, I already have one stack on mine. I could already be one ahead. Although, looking at Paul, I don't know how much of that he's truly worried about. First Blood Bounty, as you highlighted, a big win for him. They're starting to push this envelope. Not only were they starting to farm a little bit better than the Scarabs to begin with, but they're pulling themselves even further ahead. What was 1,000 gold, slowly pushing their way to 1,300. And it seems like small numbers, but it can turn into a lot. Again, based on this Gold Fury, Oracles are going to be respawning soon, so that puts layers on the left-hand side of the map. It keeps a lot of pressure on, admittedly, the Scarabs duo lane right now because they haven't been able to get too much. The Draugr was just stripped away from them. Cyclone Spin secures that one. So all in all, more protections, more neutral camps going the way of the Titans.
But silver linings for the Scarabs, they do at least get back to the point where they're fighting at full strength. All ultimates available, all their beads available as well, so Layers going to have to work pretty hard here.
What a pull back from inbound, and he gets
Twice!
it again! Layers gets locked down. This time the Snipe's not going to ring true for Stewart, but it doesn't matter. Scream's right here to help secure the kill. They drop 2 ults, but they kill their old jungler.
That might be the first time I've ever seen Bobby drop a taunt on a corpse. There seems to be a little bit of bad blood on the battleground here today. I'm excited to see how this one pans out. Great lockdown from inbound. Obviously, those Riptides so clean.
I mean, just 2 of them in a row, and not just the one. You
so nice had to do it to him twice.
Layers into an awkward position, and then you do it again, and then you throw the River's Rebuke up just to make sure he knows he can't get out of there. Cyclone Spin can use his ult to help engage in mid lane. Boronic taking a lot of damage, trying to return some, but that's Morgan Le Fay, and that's going to be Paul's number 2 for the game.
Look, man, you gotta control Paul now if you're on the Solar Scarab. Someone has to rotate in and put some pressure on him, and they've got great gods for it. Gilgamesh on his own with Winds of Shamash has great tools, but that Dragonflight is so hard to deal with, and this is exactly what, again, Aggro was talking about on the desk. Man, he's right all the time.
Too much.
Scream isn't allowed or isn't capable really to play that aggressive style because he was forced to purchase speeds in that first slot. In about 2 levels, he will be able to pick up that blink, but until then, Paul's essentially free to do whatever he wants.
And when you're letting not just Paul, but it feels like the Titans kind of run away with it, not only did Boronic die right there, but the red buff invaded, stripped away. That enhanced red buff ends up on none other than Aurora and Ares. It's kind of scary to think about if he does decide to get aggressive. They're going to fall back. Again, a couple of kills, still pairing the gold in favor of the Titans. Starting to push the envelope of 2,000 gold now. And this Gold Fury maybe ever more important for the Scarabs. They're going to start it up right here and now. Aurora happens to be in the neighborhood. No vision for the Titans. He's going to be able to peek it. There's a Riptide to keep Aurora locked down for a little bit. But he's walking forward. Scarabs secure it. Ares just a little too either early or late, depending on which chain you want to talk about there. But they get themselves the Gold Fury and help level things out.
I would argue that that was much closer than it has any right to have been. I mean, I'm pretty sure Aurora does actually hit the Gold Fury with his chain there, and it's one of my pet peeves when you allow a support to do that. Ares and Fafnir both, if you want to completely eliminate their ability to steal an objective from you, put your body between him and the objective. I mean, that chain doesn't go through you, but instead, the Solar Scarabs are able to secure it. They realize they do have the superior burst and are able to get that gold free for themselves, closing up that gold lead ever so slightly, but maybe more importantly, removing the objective from the map. The Tartarus Titans had so much control.
Oh, but Stewart's going to be the one in trouble now. Cyclone Spin goes for the ult dive onto a Layers, looking for the jump over the wall, finds it, not going to be able to get the knock up. Stewart up in the sky, but there are sharks in the water, Stewart. Where are you going to go after this? A roll into the tier 2 tower, and Scream showing up is enough to thwart this push from the Titans. Now inbounds over here. Scream looking to get aggressive, but Paul is in the jungle right now. The Scarabs need to rethink this aggression. It seems like they're going to. They fall back immediately and cede their jungle to the Titans.
Surprised to see inbound. You're playing with so much patience there. You'd think you'd want to move in and catch him out, but maybe it's him that's getting caught out.
Well, now locked up, about 2/3 HP. The River's Rebuke thrown up. Stewart joins the fight, and Baronic's coming through. Now we have the shots. The ult, it's going to burn through Aurora before the ult can come in, but Stewart is the one who ends up falling inbound. One hit away. Cyclone trying to lock it up. Scream falls on the other side. Benji with a massive rotation and an even bigger cage helps lock that down. Cyclone over the wall gets inbound. It's a roar for 3 on the other side.
That is so tough, and that's just that hesitation we saw from Baronic and inbound getting exploited here by the Tartarus Titans. We thought maybe Emoji rotates in, catches out the Titans for having to walk through this dual lane tier 1 tower. Not the case. Hovers inside of the jungle. Baronic sticks around and tries to clear out a back camp, and that leaves inbound high and dry. Tartarus Titans snap at the chance, and Solar Scarabs try their best to regroup and rally around inbound. Not the case. Immediately, the entirety of the squad caught out in exchange for the Ares on the other side. So a trade that I think the Tartarus Titans are going to be very happy with making any day of the week.
Yeah, I think they do. And plus, I mean, look, 102 and then 103 for both inbound and Baronic timers on those beads. They are definitely happy with this trade. Aurora is going to be able to get aggressive, and depending on the timer, it might be just under where that Oni Fury is going to be respawning, so it might be a little lucky here for the Scarabs as to whether or not they're going to be able to have those relics back for the next big fight. But ultimately, the big fights, I mean, every time they try to be proactive, save for that kill onto Layers where they really were the ones in charge, they've been kind of lucky to get the re-engage. It's been really well played from the Titans. And now I think, as we've highlighted, it maybe only gets more and more in their control as they continue to push the envelope.
Gore, how did I forget to bring up Benji's rotation, by the way? He beat SOT to SOT's own red buff. That's his side of the map, but somehow Odin gets there first, drops the cage, separates the engagement, and again, pushes it further in favor of the Tartarus Titans. So our Scarabs were able, just a moment ago, to cut that gold lead slightly by stripping the gold Fury, but already we're back at 3K.
And now Scream is chained, not stunned, in the jungle, right by his own speed buff. 3 members of the Titans are collapsing in on him. One more tick is going to do it. Ares is the one who picks up the kill this time. Aurora surrounded by 4 members of the Titans. A great blink from Layers to reposition, and they're going to be able to fall back away from the Scarabs, maintaining the lead, and they were looking for a Pyromancer. Looks like this time they're just going to go farm up solo.
Look, we got to see Chernobog use the ultimate again in that engagement, and you'd think traditional Smite knowledge, a team fight happening on the opposite side of the map, of course Cyclone Spin's going to try and join the engagement there, but for what, the 4th time this game, he just ults at Stewart and forces him back to base again. Quietly, Cyclone Spin has acquired himself a 2-level lead over his opposition. Stewart's finding himself in a very uncomfortable position, and leveraging his lead, Cyclone Spin strays off the path of that standard just bow build, and instead Wind Demon selection. This guy is swinging for the fences right now.
I think definitely showcasing it. Stewart, again, very accomplished in the SEC this year, had just stellar games. And Cyclone Spin showing him that it is a little different when you step up into the SPL and not giving him pretty much any room to breathe. He has ultimately, like you said, fallen 2 levels behind, and we've got that Wind Demon startup from Cyclone Spin, completely foregoing the typical at least 3 bow build that we're used to at least seeing at the start. Going for the crit. I mean, to me, that screams that Cyclone is very confident in his capabilities throughout this game.
Tells me he's looking to solo kill this guy. I mean, Cyclone Spin saying, "You're not that guy, brother." And Will Stewart hasn't stepped up to take the engagement. 2 levels, now slowly turning into 3, 18 to 15 in the ADCs. And Tartarus Titans, they want the Fury this time.
You can see the Scarabs' animosity towards Layers. 4 members in the right-hand jungle, 3 of them looking at the tier 2 and solo, where only Layers exists. The rest of the Titans doing something very, very productive on the map to get themselves an Oni Fury. And they might lose a tier 1 tower for it. Might is the key word. Yeah, okay, it is going to go down there thanks to the minions but ultimately still maintaining control over a majority of the neutral objectives.
Cyclone cannot be allowed to stand here, Gore. This is insane, the amount of pressure he's putting over into this lane, but I mean, the Tartarus Titans know exactly where the Scarabs are. Layers communicates properly, like, hey, there's 4 people over here on the right-hand side of the map. Do whatever you want, and what do the Titans want to do? Looks like strip away a tier 1 mid tower.
Inbound keeps himself alive, a little bit of healing gets him back over half health, but in the blink of an eye, this level 11 Yamoja was just erased, or virtually erased, from the map. Titans knock down the tier 1 in mid, and look to continue their onslaught. At least Paul is looking aggressive, and they have spent more time in the Scarabs jungle than maybe the Scarabs have so far this game. I mean, it is constant aggression now onto the tier 2 and right, looking to open up a Phoenix before a Fire Giant even falls.
Man, this right side tower, that's just great communication. Benji goes to the split push, says, hey, nobody's here. If you path in aggressively, the Solar Scarabs are going to have to give you space, and that all leads to a free tier 2 tower. Again, as you've already highlighted, exposing now a win condition. If the Scarabs step up to defend, a Pyromancer or the Fire Giant lose out on the engagement, they likely lose that neutral objective, and now this semi-permanent objective inside of the Phoenix as well. Solar Scarabs, though, have to dig in their heels somewhere. They have to put up a defense somewhere on the map, because for the last 5 or so minutes, they haven't really tried to stop the Tartarus Titans from playing their own game, and in the last 5 or so minutes, this gold lead has ballooned all the way out to about 7,000.
I mean, I was looking up at it, I was like, yeah, you know what, the Titans have been doing really well. I wonder how well. That number is a little staggering to see. Again, no Fire Giants before that. They've just been able to do it the old-fashioned way. And now maintaining control, some mid-camps, again, going back and forth, split between the two teams. But right now, it's only the Fire Giant that is considerably the biggest neutral objective on the map. Technically, the Draugr is way over there on the left-hand side, but no one's looking towards that. In fact, it's Inbound who's getting looked at, stunned out by Benji. Gonna use the Riptide to try and disengage, and it's gonna get him just far enough.
Great
the
cage!
Is dropped onto Stuart. SOT looking to help get them out of there. Benji is gonna jump back. Inbound's incredibly low. The chains connect, and Aurora gets the kill onto his opposing support. SOT, half health, forced to fall back. Stuart as well, forced to run away. Veronic is getting engaged on Benji, maybe diving too deep. The shield gonna help him get out of there. The jump in from Scream. The snipes looking to be good. One more shot is all it takes. Just off the mark from Stuart. The Scarabs aren't able to pick up one this time.
And while that skirmish was happening, Cyclone Spin tries to split push mid, but loses his beads for his efforts.
And now he's just trying to turn some damage around. Scream gets aggressive once again. Cyclone Spin gets out alive thanks to the collapse from the Titans, but a very narrow miss. Beads that Aegis, saving his life there and making sure he gets out, at least this time.
I think that's the first time Cyclone Spin has been forced to use his relics this game. Either one of them, Beads and Aegis, both have been maintained for just about 20 minutes so far, and that's a pretty good look for the ADC on the Tartarus Titans. And inside of that engagement, we got to see how the Titans are looking to approach these team fights. It's Benji. It's Benji City. He's the one that's going in. He's looking for the cages. He's doing whatever he can to create space, and it's reflected in the HP bars at the end of the engagement. The only 2 players to really take damage there are Benji and Cyclone Spin. Cyclone, because he gets caught out slightly trying to take out the tier 2 tower, drops it down to about 50% in mid, and Benji, because he just walked into 5 members of the Scarabs for like a full minute.
Well, we had mentioned that Wind Demon. Now I think it's worth mentioning the Deathbringer online, and I mention it because it's helping burn down this Fire Giant about as fast as you can imagine. Already 1/8 HP. Nobody's going to be able to get in there from the Scarabs, and now the Titans are looking to turn it around. Scream at half health, forced to jump over the wall. The disengage is good. The cage is a little bit better, though. Captures Inbound, captures SOT. They kill one. They're looking to kill another. Meanwhile, Cyclone Spin goes in and is just absolutely helping with the health bars, but finally a little bit of return damage. Veronic gets the kill onto Cyclone, but loses Stuart and himself for the process. You lose your carry, but you get 4, maybe 5 if Layers can find Sock.
All Layers has to do is stop this back. I mean, as long as he doesn't die, that right side Phoenix is going down. 20 seconds left on stream, 10 seconds left on your level 13 Yamoja. I think it's going to be a very tough defense, and now without SOT, it may be an impossible one. But that Phoenix is burning slow, Gore. They're not going so fast.
They don't have Cyclone Spin to help burn through. Layers as well, the only other physical damage not available for
they're
him.
Still going.
The Odin finally helping get rid of that right-hand Phoenix, but not fast enough to get the end. You had highlighted how little time it felt like until some of the respawns came through, although maybe a long time considering who was going to be left defending
Stewart's still dead.
Yes, Stewart's dead, Sot's gone forever. They get the deicide, they lose Cyclone, they get the right-hand Phoenix, and I see some pings coming out for the towers. Definitely feeling like the Titans are in control. 10,000 gold up, 22 minutes in.
4 members with Fire Giant as well, and maybe not your Hunter, but at least your frontliners can tank up those towers for you, and I'm sure the Tartarus Titans aren't sweating the details too much right now. That right side Phoenix is one of the easiest Phoenixes to defend fire minion waves if you're trying to contest subsequent Fire Giants, but with the Tartarus Titans likely going to be pushing down the duo side, well, they're still effectively splitting the map.
I just realized Cyclone's been, like, he went in that fight. Not surprising.
He went in
He's
alone.
been going in the entire game.
Yep.
But he could win in that fight. He didn't have his relics, and he went in that
I didn't
fight.
even realize.
He just got those back, because we were talking about how they were down earlier. It just connected to me that he was that confident in their capabilities. Unfortunately for him, it cost him his life. But I guess counterpoint, fortunately for him, he never had to back to base like the rest of those chumps on the Titan. He was already there to buy his items and reset, ready to come tear it down. They get the Fury, and now they're knocking down the left side, Tier 2. Already, you had highlighted earlier that Tier 2 in mid was half health thanks to Cyclone Spin. It's going to get knocked down by Layers and Benji.
Inbounds.
Inbounds looking to get aggressive traps. Paul right here. River's Rebuke is going to be enough to at least keep him locked in for a little bit. Now Scream going maybe too deep onto Cyclone Spin. The egg is going to be used, keeps him alive inbound, ends up losing his life first. Stewart is one hit away, and that's going to be dealt by Benji. Baronic in the same position, but it's Aurora who's chasing him down. That Aegis can only keep you alive for so long. Scream forced to fall back as he watches the rest of the Scarabs die. 5 members strong for the Titans. They tear down the left side Phoenix, they tear into the Titan, and they take game number 1.
Conceptually, I love the call from the Solar Scarabs there to try and do their best, try and engage that fight, considering Benji and Layers both show themselves in that Tier 2 tower in mid, essentially creating a 5 versus 3 scenario, but still not enough for the Solar Scarabs to come out ahead in that engagement. That was a clean dub from the Tartarus Titans, and maybe some of the most disrespectful play I've ever seen from Cyclone Spin. That guy was just doing it.
I thought you were going to mention all the taunts that came out the
that
one
too.
time
Poor Bobby.
they were capable of killing off Layers, but unfortunately, while we caught that on camera, we didn't catch them killing Layers ever again after that one. The Titans take game number 1. We'll see what they can do in game 2 right after this.
supposed to take you out last weekend, but he got busy.
Just as the video showed there, if you ever miss out on any of the esports action live or any of the general action that we have here on the SMITE channel, you can always go over to youtube.com/SmitePro to catch up on all the action. We've got Agro's opinions onto there. Good video.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't want to run over your ad here, J-Mac. I apologize, but I think the people should know that we are doing a part 2-ish for Roster Apocalypse. All these changes that the Scarabs have made, what's been going on with them. You might have seen the twit-longers and stuff like that, but we got some inside scoops coming. That'll be coming in just about a week or so to the SMITE Pro YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed and checking it out.
You can also check out any of the content days that we do as well. We put up highlights from that on there as well, which we're having a content day this Monday, correct?
We are.
And it's over what we've been talking about a lot in these ones here, huh? The supports. We've been talking about them all day. And it's a little bit of a foreshadowing to what we're going to talk about on Monday for it. But back here into this game, Solar Scarabs, not so had of a run onto them for this one. It's going to be the Tartarus Titans who come out on top, and a big part of that coming out of the dual lane for them. Aurora and Cyclone really teaming up to push the forefront for them and take them to game 1.
I think that overall, you look at how this Titans team played, and it was just the front line was a little bit too strong for the Scarabs to be able to get past. So you look at what Paul and Cyclone were able to do in this game and how much space they really got, and it's a testament to Aurora on this Ares, Benji on the Odin to really create that space for them. And Scream on the Gilgamesh was just completely neutralized throughout this entire game. And it felt like that Scream was really the only driving force for the Scarabs in a lot of these initiations. I mean, the fight starts, it's Scream jumping in, doing what he can, a River's Rebuke comes up, and that was kind of it. You know, it felt like the follow-up wasn't quite there, and the commit from the rest of the team also a little bit lacking this time for the Scarabs.
I think a testament to how far ahead and how confident the Titans were at the end of the game was one thing that Goro pointed out was Cyclone's been dove into 2 people with his Living Nightmare with no relics available to him, just slammed right down in on the top of that one and able to take them down and get themselves a game 1 victory for it. And a lot of it, like we said, out of this dual lane, Aurora with this Ares pick looked really good in game number 1. Maybe we see some shy bans for it in game 2.
I think that there's a potential for that. Certainly in the second phase, if there's going to be a position where you have to do it. But layers looked solid on the Awilix. I mean, that was something that everyone was going to be paying attention to, of course. For what it's worth, I thought Inbound probably had his best Yamoja performance individually in a while. I thought that he made some really good mechanical plays. Obviously, bouncing layers on that one was really clean. But overall, I thought he played okay despite the score line. It was Solar Troll and Scream were not on the same page on a lot of those initiations. Scream was just unable to be effective really at all. And Paul and Cyclone spent the vast majority of that game not under much threat. And when Paul and Cyclone are able to free cast, you aren't going to beat them.
No. It's never a fun time when your carries get to just sit in the back line and free cast for an entire game. They don't feel like they're ever under threat, especially from your jungler who's supposed to be one of their primary threats, especially one like a Gilgamesh or something like a Yamoja as well. So just not able to bring themselves here in game 1, but it's a reset here. All the Scarabs need to do is have this little mental reset. Say, okay, game 1's done. Let's look towards game 2. Where do we start to prioritize the bans? Where do we start to get those picks in, more importantly?
I mean, they're back in first pick, so immediately, like I said, the game 1, I think that banning the Artemis early, though, it might be too little too late now because if you're the Titans, you know that they might not want it. I think that the Yamoja first pick was okay. Like I said, I thought Bobby had one of his better individual performances. I think the Cerberus for SOT is something that I'd want to switch and get him on something a little bit more aggressive that can help Scream on these dive-ins a little bit more. But I don't think the Scarabs went massively wrong in their picks and bans. I think that it was more on-the-field execution than anything else.
We'll see if they can shake things up here in game number 2. They'd have gone for the first pick option yet again. And we'll see where they elect to sway their bans for. It is still going to be that Artemis. We kind of talked on this in game number 1 where they're just banning away the Artemis. They're not willing to give it over to Stewart right now, and no matter how good the pick is, you still got to be able to at least throw it into there.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about picks and bans theory. I really think that picks and bans is like a theory crafting course more than anything else, and that's what makes it really fun to speculate on. And like I said in game 1, I think banning a first pickable god that has the potential to make it through picks and bans from the first slot is very telling. A lot like banning Morgan Le Fay here, right? That you know that now that is never going to be the first pick for the Scarabs. They're going to value something like a Yemoja over that, maybe Gilgamesh, maybe Odin. All of those gods might seem more attractive to them right now than Morgan Le Fay. And it's never just about this one set or this one game, because these picks and bans get studied by coaches and players from opposing teams all the time. And those sorts of things stand out, I think, when it comes down to it.
And it kind of starts to reflect on your general playstyle for it. We do see Tiamat and Terra banned away, along with the Heimdall. Gets taken away by the Tartarus Titans there. Artemis, Morgan Le Fay, as you pointed out, and the Osiris banned away. And that leaves the Odin on the table for the Solar Scarabs. They're going to grab that one. Still a little bit of flexibility, though. Most likely, Solar or Troll going to pilot that one over into the Soul. It seems to be the more comfortable spot for them.
It does, but we're talking so much pregame about the Hercules for inbound, the Serket for inbound. If there's a player alongside Aurora that I think the Odin support would fit, I think inbound could be one of them to pull it out. And I think that if I'm the Scarabs, I'd make the Titans at least be honest with their bans. You know, keep them honest with how they're going to want to make their picks. And if Yemoja gets taken, is what I was about to say, and it does here for the Titans, then there's no reason for them to show their solo laner or support in this spot. I think you've got 3 roles to take between these 2 picks, between your mid and your ADC and your jungle. I think I would be very keen on locking in 2 out of those 3 and leaving where this Odin goes a bit up in the air.
It's going to be the Ymir locked
Fair
in
enough.
first. So they're going to go ahead and grab their frontliner right off the bat and make sure that they do have their support. So we will see Bobby piloting this one in the dual lane, while SOT will take the Odin over on the far side of the map. And a Merlin gets locked in. That was banned away from Baronic in game number 1. Now he's going to have the chance to see what he can do with this god in game 2.
Look, as much as I just went on a long spiel about how I don't want them to pick their support, at least they pick a high-value support that has potential to really run the game. And Ymir does that. And it's good against the first 2 picks, and it happens to be pretty good against the 3rd pick as well in this Erlong Shen. So it ends up being a bit odd and not exactly what I was asking for, but I think pretty good here for the Solar Scarabs. Getting Merlin for Baronic makes a ton of sense, and because the Titans don't take Raijin for Paul like I was expecting, I would expect like Raijin Hell bans in this spot if I'm the Scarabs. Maybe the Hell doesn't scare you as much because you have the Odin cage, but Paul has kind of shown that he's going to be able to navigate that kind of stuff anyways. So I think I'd be double banning Paul here if I were in the Solar Scarabs position.
So far, we do see one of those bans. It is going to be the Raijin taken away. And onto the flip side of it, the Titans are going to be focusing a lot into the jungle, making sure to take Fenrir and Camazotz off the table, which have been kind of premier picks here for Layers, and even onto the flip side for Scream as well. They both really do like these 2 gods, so I do enjoy seeing the Titans take that one away. And the Erlong Shen seems like a flip from the Awelish, where Awelish is the I want to bring them to me, Erlong Shen is I want to go to them. How does that kind of play style flip around for that jungler?
I like it for Layers. It's aggressive. It allows him to be a setup man for the front line, for the back line rather, of the Tartarus Titans, and that's what I think they need their jungler to be. They don't need a superstar in that role. They don't need something crazy. They just need someone who's going to let Paul do his thing, let Cyclone Spin do his thing.
Before I even try and break it down, I'm going to see if it gets locked in, and
Yeah,
it does not. No chance. If we saw, that would have been a crazy lock-in to see. Would that have put the Yemoja in solo lane then?
Probably, yeah. The Yemoja hasn't been solo lane viable in a long time, okay? Maybe ever, if you ask me, but certainly not as strong as she used to be overall, and not strong enough to warrant a solo lane pick.
Good thing we don't have to break down too much onto that. It will be the Cerberus locked in instead, keeping that Yemoja in the hands of Aurora to make sure he can really elevate that dual lane. Did it well with the Ares. We'll see if he can do it with the Yemoja. Rom right next to him onto that. Next to Solar Scarabs, they have their options available. They don't need their mid laner, they need their hunter, and need their jungler to be locked in here. Lots of openings still available for them. We'll grab the on her. Put that one over into the hands of the hunter. And now, still looking one more time for their jungler. A lot of options available for Scream.
Very interesting as we wait for Scream's pick that it's Cerberus against Odin for both teams. That tells me that multiple solo laners are feeling like that's a good enough matchup, that that's the direction you want to go in. It just surprises me because even though Cerberus has a way to get out of the Odin cage, when do you get to Cerberus Alden Odin? Because he has knockup immunity in the 3. So it completely negates Stygian Torment in the laning phase as long as he holds his 3. So I'm not in love with that sort of game plan up against the Odin, but both teams have done the exact same way. So SPL solo laners thinking about that matchup a little bit differently than I am, I suppose.
No matter how many gods you ban away from Paul, he's still got something in his back pocket, and he's not afraid to go back to the hell. He's played it multiple times this year already. He's not the only player who's played it now. We did see Variety last time with that hell, but Paul going to be piloting this mid laner once again.
Look, I said if I'm the Scarabs, I'm banning Raijin, Hell. Those are the 2 picks I'm most worried about. And yes, you've got the Odin cage, but it has got to be hitting Hell every single fight. I don't care, Erlong Shen, great cage target. Yamoja, great cage target. If you don't cage the Hell, or insta-kill multiple people in your cage that aren't Hell, it's going to be hard to win the team fight. So now you're the Tartarus Titans, absolutely getting a Phantom in this game. No shot you aren't. But you have the Rom there. Remember that his Astral Arrows from the 1 will double proc on the Odin cage, so it doesn't take him 5 autos to knock it down. It only takes him 3, as long as he has 3 Astral Arrows, or at least 2, I suppose. And then you've got the extra attack speed from the attack speed stim. He's building full attack speed anyways. These Odin cages between a Phantom and when the Rom joins the fights probably aren't going to last that long. And it's Odin's solo lane, so you don't, by the time that everyone is coalescing into a 5v5, the Phantom should be ready, and Rom should have enough attack speed to knock down those cages pretty quickly. This Odin looks like it should be really good, and it's got to be really good here for the Scarabs if they want to win.
You got to imagine this is a ton of confidence coming from the Titans because the Odin was first pick, and they picked this draft into the Odin. They're showing that they're not caring that there's an Odin on the other side. They're just going to play this game better than the Odin, especially when you throw a Hell as a last pick.
Exactly. That, like I said, the Titans not too scared of Solo Retrol's Odin in this game, and that's okay. It's okay to go with that style, but if you're SOT, take it personally. You gotta get a little chip on your shoulder in this game and be like, they can't disrespect me in this way. I'm going to have to punish them for this draft. And it often doesn't come down to one player, and even in this game it obviously does not. But Solo Retrol has got to have a good game for the Scarabs here.
We'll see if the Titans can close out game number 2 and end the set, or the Scarabs going to be the ones to take us to game 3. We'll find out with Goran Mifflin.
Thanks again, J-Mac, as we head into game number 2. And Mifflin, I think it's very nice to watch the rise of Odin the last couple of days. You see the bow build comes through. It's a lot of people who admittedly don't have leaps, things like that to help get away with it. And yet, it's not normally enough to, when you lock them in first pick, for teams to go, okay, well, I'm still going to pick my Rom and Yamoja and Hell and Erlong into. I mean,
Yeesh.
If they get caught, the Titans are caught.
That's true. But Gore, I've never more clearly realized the difference between you and I than I did in that sentence alone. You're glad to see Odin coming back. Here's the thing about playing console League Smite, Gore.
Okay.
Odin was in every game. He was in contested, pick and ban, and it got to the point that he was so dominant that scrim partners would just agree, all right, look, we're not going to ban him, but you're not allowed to play him in scrims. I'm so used to seeing this Odin that, honestly, I don't want to see him anymore, but he's good. He's good, though. He's really good right now. He has had a rework since then, and as Agri already highlighted, has to pop off here if the Solar Scarabs want to beat this Tartarus Titans draft. I'm excited to watch him play it, but Odin inside the soul lane takes a long time to get involved.
Well, he's up against Cerberus, so theoretically it's not like he's under an immense amount of pressure. I say that, we come over here and Benji's been putting a little bit of hurt onto Solo Retrol. But he has such, it's one of those things, such high potential, usually can also lead to one of the most catastrophic defeats, right? Where it's just like, man, this is something that, like Aggro had said, like, you got to come into it with a chip on your shoulder. You should be insulted by this. You should be able to take control. And if you don't, it just feels bad. And this might feel even worse. Layers looking for the body blocks. Leap from SOT will get him back onto the tier 1. And it's Scream going over to the dual lane. Cyclone Spin trying to run away. This time one more auto, but the stun, perfect from Aurora, stops him in his tracks, saves Cyclone Spin, and there's no first blood yet.
Yeah, and all that effort, all that damage you just put in a Cyclone Spin. Here's the thing about how Aurora can heal him for free by left-clicking. He's already back to about 60% HP. Stewart has no potions left and doesn't have a Yamoja on his team, so I'd say somehow the Tartarus Titans come on ahead on the side of the duo lane. I mean, Scream gets a little bit of that wave farm, so it's split 3 ways by the Scarabs, and Cyclone Spin's already back to full HP in the time I'd finished speaking my sentence. You gotta get those kills if you're Scream, and unfortunately, Aurora is just too clean with the stun.
I mean, just right there available for him. And it results in nothing, as we had mentioned. They're gonna go for their buffs. Aurora was looking to get aggressive. Now he's looking just to get slowed down by inbound. Not going to have too much result on that. Nobody's following up. And so the junglers both not necessarily having the explosive play I think they were expecting quite yet. Although being proactive I think is a great sign. Again, for Scream, we didn't get to see him a whole ton last game. I think a few plays he was really enacting, but ultimately kind of fell by the wayside. Gumbats has trouble doing that.
Look, let me just hop on my jungler soapbox for a second.
Gladly.
The most rewarding place to gank is the duo lane. You've got multiple targets you can kill. Putting behind a late game hyper carry always feels good, but the opportunity cost is already showing itself. Layers gank soul lane doesn't succeed. Doesn't super matter though, because there's a ton of farm on that side of the map for junglers. 2 back camps, mid camps as well. Maybe hold that thought though.
Veronic caught out one more hit.
No way.
Paul
What?
Can't find it. Veronic with no health. I mean, that has to be 50, if not lower, is able to walk away from Layers and Paul. A great disengage, and you have to give credit to Scream, I guess, and to Veronic's movement. The minions help out a little bit. Everybody gets their hand on making sure the mid laner comes out. That is 3 opportunities at First Blood we've seen, and yet still no kills.
Sorry, my blood's boiling. I'm going to go back into it. So anyway, Layers ganks the soul lane, doesn't succeed, doesn't get punished nearly as hardly as Scream does. He falls behind about a half level because there's no farm on the duo side of the map, and, well, Scream's just going to try again.
He's back over here. Good freeze on the Cyclone. Fear no evil. That
It
one's
worked.
gonna do it. Stewart finds the kill.
Nice.
A great walk from inbound. Locks Aurora in there. The Riptide Part 2 and Part 3 are going to assist in getting Aurora out of there. Not enough from the ult. Stewart didn't find the damage. One spear connects. Waiting on a wall, a slow, or an overhand smash. All are going to be helpful here. Scream gets himself a kill as well, and the Scarabs find themselves up 2-0.
They do. I mean, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And Layers, prescribing himself to that mentality as well, tries to gank the soul lane. Instead, though, settles for a blue buffed invade.
And it's enough to strip away the buff. Sot looking to turn around and fight, potentially, although he's going to rethink that very, very quickly. The shield dissipates, and so does his want to fight.
And that should spell the end of that engagement. But the Solar Scarabs come out ahead pretty cleanly. Double kill First Blood going the way of that duo lane. I think it was First Blood lands onto Stewart, and Scream gets the secondary. So, again, Stewart, who had a very hard time in Game 1. He was getting legitimately cyberbullied by Cyclone Spin. Now has his feet under him. He can really start to hit the ground running. He's got a very aggressive pick up against Cyclone Spin, who has a pick that is strong, has great 1v1 potential, but maybe needs a couple more levels, a couple more items than Onher does, whereas Onher kind of just going to disperse, impale, and likely Desert Fury after that, and if somehow you survived, well, he's got a Pillar Slow as well. So I think it's now the ball is in Stewart's court to kind of utilize the lead that he's been given.
There's going to be a lot that they have to reckon with as the game continues forward. In fact, the Scarabs are looking for a red buff invade. Look, the timer on that still got a little bit, y'all. You gotta figure out where you're going. Inbound, walks forward, gets a wall on Paul, and drops into his ult. The Shards of Ice, not gonna be able to find enough, and he ends up falling down. A great knock up from Layers helps seal the deal on that kill. Now you've got Baronic, Stewart, Scream all running away. Cyclone's been looking to make the rotation. A good blink forward from Baronic, or I should say a flicker forward. It's about half health. Benji out of nowhere comes and seals the deal. Good snipes from Cyclone Spin to make sure he's going nowhere, and the Titans tie up the game.
Look, that Bobby sometimes does this, where he just got the horse blinders on. He starts seeing red. He walks up to the red buff, whiffs his freeze, realizes red buff isn't even up, and then just keeps walking forward. The rest of his team had already disengaged. They turned on a dime. There's nothing to fight over here. There's no buff. I mean, the stun's down, but Bobby wasn't willing to let it go, and well, it cost his team not only their support's life, but another life as well. The mid laner, Baronic, falls, trying to peel out for his boy. And the Tartarus Titans are a squad that are going to punish you for going overextending into their side of the jungle. Just feel like Bobby needs to rein in that aggression just a little bit.
That's been the case, like you mentioned, not just here, what we saw just now, but pretty often we've seen that kind of consistently going on, and not just this year, last year too.
No way.
One of the biggest issues, and guess what? He's going to walk forward. Good freeze, looks for the purple steal.
Got it.
He's going to be able to get that
Nice!
good wall to stop Cyclone Spin from dashing, and Cyclone Spin has no mana. Cyclone Spin is dead. Scream with a great rotation and a roar, unable to save anybody this time around. So that's 2 deaths onto the carry. He was the one cyberbullying, now he's the one getting cyberbullied.
And we got the 2 sides of inbound as well. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not so good. That was the maybe good right there. He moves up, not only steals the purple buff, but perfectly walls just as Cyclone Spin comes out of the freeze, baiting the roll. Great play and great synergy with his jungler.
Now aggressive onto Paul. Wall not going to do much this time around. The Fear No Evil is going to get beads out, but that is a relic down for Paul. Safety disappearing for the health.
There's maybe the not so good. That wall was pretty far off the mark. But again, it's great that Inbound is willing to make these plays, because legitimately that's what the Scarabs need. They need that leadership, and right now clearly Inbound dictating the pace. Everywhere there is action, this Ymir is leading the charge.
We gave him some trouble last time around. 1-0-2 now for Stewart. Might get up a little higher. Cyclone Spin, look, you're not going to get away with it this time. Inbound is making sure to help out Stewart a little bit more, but Stewart also just managed to sneak away that Fury. Aurora is going for a stun. You've got Layers in the jungle, and that's not going to result in any big pickup here, but that Fury just spawned. The Titans kind of feinting some movement over there. Instead, they're going to be getting aggressive more or less onto this red buff. Scream is alone. Layers can see him. The pin ever waiting to lock him down. There's going to be the taunt to pull him right into the stun, just eviscerating the health bar of the jungler for the Scarabs and showing him that you can't quite take his place.
Perfect chain CC there. The stun from Aurora comes through just as he lands from the knock-up from Layers. I mean, Scream essentially wasn't allowed to play that game. He was allowed to put in exactly 1 input, and it was the jump away, and he landed into a pin.
Well, Rivers Rebuke now locking down to Inbound. They are kill hungry. Shards of Ice trying to return some damage. Same thing for Stewart. Gets a lot onto Layers, but not enough to find the kill. Cyclone not going to manage to find that one. Aurora is the one who slips that kill through. Inbound goes down one more time. It was a 2-0 lead to start the game for the Scarabs. Now trailing behind just by 1, 4-3 in favor of the Titans.
And it took the Titans a little bit longer to get where they wanted to go this time around. I'm surprised to see that they don't elect to pull the Gold Fury there, considering Inbound dead, Stewart no ultimate, but instead resets themselves back to neutral at a 2,000 gold lead, and they're scaling in the late game. I mean, Agra already highlighted it. You got to play perfect around this hell.
Well, good cage onto Benji. Unfortunately, also the only member who can escape the cage, but he's eating a lot of damage in the process. Good pin as Layers joins the fray. Solar Troll has no mana, and Solar Troll has no health. That's going to be a kill for Layers.
Scream
and then a pull back from Benji, locking down Scream one more time. Benji, credit for that one. 2-0-1 for the Cerberus, 2-0-3 for the Erlong Shen. The Titans are starting to run away.
Feels so bad to be Scream there. Layers plays the jump perfectly, realizing, well, he's got to leave that tower. Only one way he can go, and it's towards me. Plays the jump, picks up the kill, and immediately on the opposite side of the map, well, no jungler, no soul laner means that nobody's coming to help Stewart. It's just Tartarus Titans all the way down.
Now Now they get a Pyromancer to boot 11 minutes in, and they're really taking command of the pace of the game. Like you had said, Inbound was driving this game for the Scarabs, and admittedly just this game in general. Whether it was for the Titans or not, he was the one helping make those decisions with his aggression. They slowed down for a little bit since then. Red buff just respawned for the Titans, for the Scarabs, but the Titans are the ones that have the timer. They're not going to be able to strip it away this time, but you know that they're looking for a lot of blood. They've been pressuring out Stewart, a lot of pressure on the left-hand side. Mifflin feels like they want a Fury.
It does, and well, if the Solar Scarabs try to retreat to that left-hand tower, it's not going to be there. It's not going to help you. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a stiff breeze for being knocked over, and quietly this game, we haven't seen too much from Paul as of yet, but he's established himself about a 2-level lead, 14 to Baronix 12. Goes for some tankiness in the build as well. This Hell is going to be very, very difficult to shut down. I mean, there's not a lot. The burst potential from the Solar Scarabs is lacking from conception. I mean, it's generally up to maybe a max range Desert Fury, or you're hoping Fear No Evil finds full value, or SOT is able to rotate out of lane, but barring some like perfect situations like that, a 2-level ahead tanky Hell, yeah, that's super hard to deal with.
And 2 assists go right onto those Charon's coin, and then immediately into Mantle of Discord. No discourse, no questions about it. Paul knew exactly what he wanted, and he is perfectly fine on that. But I will say, we have the Divine Ruin on the other side. Brawler's Beat Stick, a Tainted Steel, maybe soon enough a Cursed Ankh at about 3 levels here for Inbound, but it gives them somewhere to go. Right now that somewhere has been duo lane. They burn Cyclone Speed's beads in this engagement. And Stewart gets a good couple of autos off there, gets some good damage. But how well can they steal? Gold Fury pulled by the Titans. Inbound, Stewart making their rotations. Inbound spots it, it's low, and they turn right around. They recognize that this is not something they want to fight. Stewart went for the Desert's Fury, did not steal it away. The Titans secure it, but a good play, I still think, from Stewart.
A nice attempt, to be sure. I mean, even when it's a long shot, you have to go for those plays. Inbound turns the corner, sees the Gold Fury at 50%, looks at his mini-map, says, all right, well, it's going to take about 5 or 6 seconds for anyone on my team to get here. All right. See you guys later. Gold Fury's going down. He types the timer into the chat so they can just press enter and check when it's respawning later on. But again, the Solar Scarabs falling into the same trappings as they were in Game 1. They do a great job trying to play their own match, trying to set some pressure in the early, but the second they fall behind, it just feels like they don't know where they want to establish their defense, where they're going to try and mount their comeback. And slowly again, here in Game 2, Tartarus Titans have established a pretty sizable gold lead, 4,000, 14 minutes in.
A good amount of aggression coming from the Titans. This time around, not finding a lot of kills, just finding any neutral objective they happen to look at. And Mifflin, 5,000 gold now in their favor, 14 minutes in. That is a massive lead for them to play with here. It does still leave some small openings for the Scarabs, small though they may be. They're definitely going to need them. A Spectral Armor catches my eye when we go back to the items. A lot of other things kind of fall right into place exactly where we expect them. I see the Wind Demon start from Cyclone Spin, so maybe it's a preemptive one, but it was before the crit comes out. Is it good enough? I mean, right now, just physical item and physical prots, health, all that, to just buy.
Legitimately, it is not a bad stat stick, but there are just so many other defense items that have great passives that you kind of just want those. But as Cyclone Spin is going towards a bit of crit here, maybe Inbound Galaxy Brain 5 heads his way into a great build, but so early on, you gotta think that he would have been better served by Sovereignty, maybe some CDR. If he wants to continue playing aggressively, we've seen potentially Spear of Deso in that slot. So for now, it's not the best item on the planet, but okay, no, never mind. Cyclone Spin just backed, finished his Wind Demon. Let's go, Bobby.
And this is what I was going to ask was, it was one of those things, it feels like it's a little early, but at the same time, is Inbound going to get enough gold that he could get another item before getting a Spectral and having it be as effective as he needs, especially with Cyclone Spin as ahead as they are right now. Level-wise, pretty equal, but finishing off a Wind Demon 15 minutes into the game feels pretty solid. What else feels pretty solid is the aggression. Titans just running them down, Inbound, stunned out, River's Rebuke, locking him away. Ymir has no way out of here. Shards of Ice going to be used, and a good Odin Cage. Great freeze. Inbound still alive, but not for much longer. Layers finds the kill there. The Titans regroup as 5. and they start to fall back.
I mean, you've already highlighted the amount of anti-heal the Solar Scarabs have. I think they need to toss an Ankh on top of it, man, because Paul and Aurora together are just doing too much healing. Everyone on the Tartarus Titans have full HP bars right now, and the only person who doesn't is Benji. It's because he's 1v1ing a mid laner on the opposite side of the map. He's not near his healers as of right now. Tier 2 tower on the left-hand side will fall, and the gold lead again balloons in favor of the Tartarus Titans. Solar Scarabs, though, do try to put up a defense. Bobby steps a little bit too far forward, and then we see SOT rotate his way in, but the rest of the boys, Scream, Baronic, Stewart, wash their hands of that fight. They say, look, I didn't choose this. Yeah, I'm not the one who got caught out. That's Bobby, that's not me. And they leave him high and dry, and when you do that, he's probably gonna die.
And he did, as it turns out. 0-3-3 right now. He has 100% kill participation for the Scarabs in this game. So that's not doing a lot. Great wall, good freeze onto Aurora, but
So
you're leaving
tanky.
SOT for himself. A good cage, and this is exactly the kind of lockdown we were talking about. Look at how nobody on the Titans could chase down Sot. Unfortunately, he had to use it to get out of there as opposed to get aggressive. Now the Titans are going to take the Pyromancer. Up into the sky goes Cyclone Spin. Snipes, not finding anyone just yet. All 3 shots off the mark. Fear No Evil in the back. Solar Troll's the one that's low, though, and he's the first to fall. Benji, credit for the kill. Now Screams in the middle of the Titans, all 5 of them. Turn and look at the jungler. They're trying to burn him down. Layers needs one more hit. Paul will be the one that finds it. They isolate Stewart. Paul gets himself a double, and Baronic is just slowly backstepping. Benji jumps in on him. They've got inbound isolated. The 2 members left for the Scarabs. One is in a 1v4,
match.
the others in a 1v1. Walled off the rest of the Titans. Layers gets the best of them. Baronic goes down. That's a deicide, and the Titans, they get a Fire Giant.
Corey, you know what I noticed? The one takeaway from that entire engagement? The Solar Scarabs didn't look at Paul. Not a single one of them was trying to deal their damage to Paul himself. So what's Paul do? I think he spends 80% of that engagement inside light stance. He's like, all right, heal. Maybe I heal again. Oh, you low health? Yeah, hold a heal. And nobody.
Yo, what if I, heal though?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, Paul just does whatever he wants because nobody's looking at him. He's not having any threat tossed his way. I think he switches to Dark Stance once inside of that engagement just to pick up the last hit on a kill. Solar Scarabs, and the desk already highlighted it, have to win the initial engagement. They have to get the cage onto this hell. They need Scream hitting Category 5 natural disaster level ultimates. We haven't quite seen that just yet. The Fear No Evils have been good. We've seen 3, 4-man Fear No Evils. I think you have to demand more now. You need a 5-man from Scream to win these engagements. Baronic isn't allowed to step far enough forward to really sink his damage in. The Solar Scarabs clearly on the back foot. Now a Fire Giant on 5 members of the Titans with already a 10,000 gold lead.
Yeah.
We're looking at a 99%er here.
19 minutes in, 12-3.
Yikes.
Right now in favor of the Titans. 4 times the amount of kills the Scares have been able to pick up, and you had just highlighted not just a 10,000 lead, now fast approaching, in fact passing an 11,000 gold lead. 2 towers still standing on the side of the Scarabs. Not just a great movie, but also their last defense as of right now. It's 3,000 more gold that could potentially go into the pockets of the Titans. And Sot, Scream are caught out right at the tier 1. That's going to be Benji getting aggressive. He misses the ult, jumps forward, forces the blink out of Scream. And I'm sure he's just happy with that, uses his own blink in the process. But look at the rest of the Titans turning to envelop the solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, Benji just wins that fight. SOT has to run. They have to use their blinks defensively, and maybe not enough.
What a pin into a taunt, into a lot of damage, but not enough. Odin makes it out of here. Fear No Evil for the disengage, but the team, well, they weren't chasing. So it guaranteed they wouldn't, but also they weren't anyway, and now the tower falls.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Scream wanted them to disengage, and they did, okay? Maybe, sure, Fear No Evil didn't hit anybody, but who cares?
But Cyclone Spin left alone. Crit's doing a lot of work here. His Pizza Nagus doing a little bit more. Doesn't ult and doesn't get out of there. The Scarabs pick up another kill, but at what cost Mifflin? They lose their right side Phoenix. Are sieging the tower. 3 members of the Scarabs aren't here. It's a 2v4. Including Odin Cage is looking to help lock down the Titans. keep them isolated. Benji was, I believe, just straight up backing for a second there in the cage. A good wall from inbound as they retreat. Stewart still alone on the left-hand side looking for a split push. As SOT gets aggressive for his team. This right side Phoenix doing no work. It's dead. And Sot going to get pulled right back into the Titans.
Stewart still on the opposite side, going for the split push. So is Scarabs taking a 4v4 despite Cyclone Spin being dead. And, well, Tartarus Titans have a massive lead.
And that's going to be a little bit of gold and a Phoenix now open. Stewart still pushing. He has foregone his team, but it is for a good effort. He has been able to take a chip at the gold lead, and he might be able to take that Phoenix. Not quite enough layers. Backs in time. Cyclone respawns as well. So Stewart has to back and run away, but gets a lot done for his team that ultimately creates some openings that literally did not exist for them otherwise.
Yeah, now Solar Scarabs do have a win condition. If they can win out on a team fight cleanly, immediately barrel down the left-hand side and try and kill a Titan that still has the protections of 4 towers and 2 Phoenixes from the Tartarus Titans.
That sounds hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of HP, it's a lot of defense, but it's not impossible and certainly not out of reach here. Solar Scarabs, though, need to find those wins in the team fight, and maybe that's the harder part. Don't worry about the Titan and how strong it is. You got to get there first.
You got to find your way through the Titans.
Oh, wow. See?
To the Titan.
Yeah, wow, that's
And
pretty good.
It's, I was going to say not looking great for inbound, almost caught out there. But they've done, I will say, a great job. It has hovered right around this 10K gold lead for the Titans. But being able to dissipate that despite the losses, despite the Phoenix falling down, the Scarabs keeping things mostly, well, neutral from where they were prior to that Fire Giant. And more or less in a state where they can try to play catch-up is, I think, where their mind is at. Fire Giant's going to be coming up in a little less than a minute or two. And that opens up a lot of opportunities. And those towers, admittedly, the tier 1 on right and tier 1 in mid for the Titans, aren't looking too healthy. And also, 23 minutes into the game, they kind of don't matter, except for the Titan health you had highlighted.
Gore, I'm going to wax poetic for a moment here because I'm running numbers. Solar Scarabs clearly are not really succeeding inside of the team fight. So if this Fire Giant does go the way of the Tartarus Titans, that will likely spell the end of the match, but the Solar Scarabs have a great defensive composition. SOT blinks forward with the cage. Scream does the same thing with Fear No Evil. That's a ton of CC lockdown. The game simplifies on Phoenix defense to the point that you're likely going to be able to work your way into the backline of the Tartarus Titans either way. So maybe, I think if I'm the Scarabs here, I let this Fire Giant go.
Aurora potentially caught out, taken down about a third of his HP, and they're going to Riptide right back in. Rivers Rebuke, the Fire Giant goes to the Titans, and now inbound one more time, caught out as the Titans look to burn through that health bar. Cyclone spins, some snipes from up above, connect on Stewart, and now the feeds forced out by Benji, and it's going to be a little bit more than that. Benji goes in for the kill, finds the dunk, they get Boronic, they lock down SOT, he turns and runs the other way, tries to keep the Titans from the Titan itself, but it's only going to keep it alive so much longer. Scream versus the world. Fear No Evil, Blink, Beads, all available for him here, and he's running down the left-hand side. The Titans are looking for their kill. He is pulling them away. Layers, I think, acknowledges it's the same thing for Cyclone Spin. 3 of the Titans looking for blood. The other 2 are going to be playing for the win. They're going to take game number 2 here, Mifflin, and they do it in a pretty convincing way.
What a tough one, man. I mean, all that poetic waxing we were just doing, kind of worthless. The Solar Scarabs don't decide to give up the Fire Giant or legitimately contest it either. They approach, they see Aurora, and they say, yeah, that looks like a pretty good target to me. And, well, I mean, Aurora's team is 12,000 gold up. That guy's incredibly tanky.
12,000 gold's pretty good.
It's a lot. It's pretty hard to shut down a Umoja at that point, and, well, it cost them the entire game before they even get to the Phoenix defense. Solar Scarabs lose out this time around.
I mean, look, if you're Layers, you're probably happy. You get to show up for one set against your former teammates, and you get to look pretty good in it, and you beat them pretty heavily in that one as well. Scarabs still have a little bit of work to do, but it's all Titans all day as of right now. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we get back, we'll break it down.
It's getting later and it's harder to leave. I'm trying to heal, I'm trying to mend. Someone please come to my defense. Or will you sweeten up on your return? Silly baby, will I ever learn? I come down for you from heaven above. Take me back, I can't get enough. Send a signal from the little room. The moon is big and night will fall soon. And you try to remember, you run it through your mind. It feels like forever since the last time. Hide me underneath your clothes. Let me be your compass rose. Through a storm, I follow wherever you go. I'm breaking all my promises now. Send a signal from the little room. The moon is big, the night will fall soon. And you try to remember, you run it through your mind. It feels like forever since the last time. First, you disown me. Second chances will not be free. And third, you better find your prayer. If you reach for me, I won't be there.
Aggro here. Look, every single year, the SPL just keeps getting better. Season 7 was incredible, and in Season 8, I'm sure our players are gonna take their game to the next level. But in order to do that, they're gonna need the best gear they can get their hands on. And that's why I'm so excited to announce the title sponsor for Season 8 of the SPL is Alienware. Yeah, that Alienware. Our players are getting the best of the best in computer gaming. These Alienware Aurora Ryzen Edition PC setups are insane. Not only will these be the PCs that the players will compete on once we are in studio, but Alienware is also providing one for each player at their home setup to make sure their practice is as good as possible. Now let's get down to brass tacks. The specs on these Alienware Aurora Ryzen Edition desktops are amazing. An AMD Ryzen 9 16-core processor.
That's a lot of cores.
That's plenty of processing power.
Plenty of cores.
If you want to stream, this is the way to go.
I know a lot about my cores, so. I mean, Pilates, right?
64 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM.
What? Is that true?
That is true.
I mean, this thing has 64 gigs of DDR4 RAM.
Which you can do literally anything with.
Literally anything.
I've never had more than 16 gigs.
That's quadruple the amount I have at home.
And one of the hottest commodities in the PC world, an NVIDIA GeForce 3090 graphics card.
Insane how much better this is than what I have.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course.
Content's gonna look good.
And what's the point of all the power if you can't see it? Players will also be using the Alienware 25-inch 240 Hz monitors.
Man, when I load into scrims with this bad boy, I'm gonna feed so hard. And it's gonna be in perfect picture quality.
We are so excited to be partnering with Alienware for Season 8 of the SMITE Pro League. And the best part is, this VIP treatment It's not just for the pros. You too can get the best possible Smite experience. Just go to smitegame.com/Alienware and use code SMITEAW to get special discounts on some of Alienware's best products. Thanks again to Alienware. Make sure you're following them on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Alienware on both platforms. And you can join their community at alienwarearena.com.
And you're telling me an alien wore this?
Well, back here onto the desk one final time to break down the Titans' victory over the Scarabs. But before we go to that, we have to throw a shout out to our title sponsor, Alienware, for providing the Aurora Ryzen 10 Edition desktops and those 25-inch gaming monitors at 240 hertz. 4 times the hertz that my monitors have ever had at home, and way more power than anything I've ever owned onto it. If you want a chance to get some of that sweet gear, you can take yourself to smitegame.com/Alienware and use code SMITEAW. Pick yourself up some sweet deals on that merch and on those peripherals for it, as well as following Alienware on their social medias, on their Twitter and their Instagram at Alienware. Aggro, one more time onto this one, and I think you said it best in the previous set, but I think it still applies here. Did not look that hard for him to take this one.
It did not. The Titans came in with a really good game plan. I think that their picks and bans were just better in Game 2 than what the Scarabs threw at them. And then their execution on top of that was even better. So when you combine better picks and bans and better in-game execution, you have games that look like this one, where the Titans kind of just run away with it. And what's interesting to me is that in Game 1, we highlight the duo lane. It was the duo lane that played really well for the Titans. Aurora and Cyclone Spin. In this game, it was the right side of the map, where Benji and Layers just dominated throughout the game. And then, of course, you get to the point where your hell is gigantic and unkillable and doing a ton of damage all at the same time, and then it feels impossible to win. But really, the players who deserve the most credit to getting this one rolling in their favor, I think, are Benji and Layers.
Yeah, for sure, those two really look strong on that side of the map. You said countering to what we saw in game number 1, for Layers looked very comfortable on this Long Shen. Benji, a menace on this Cerberus. And as you said, Paul just getting to exist in the mid lane. And when you just get to exist as a hell in any game, it's got to be a good feeling.
You just get to points like this, where you're level 20 late in the game, and your heals all of a sudden burst heal for 1,000,000. You do 1,000,000 damage with your repulse and all that kind of stuff, and you have a bunch of CDR. And once he gets to the upgrade, that Sands of Time, it feels pretty difficult to stop. He actually did less player healing than Aurora and 100 more damage. Not even 100 more damage. So it goes to show that it wasn't just Paul's healing, it was Aurora on this Yemoja as well. And when you combine those two, of course, Yemoja giving you heal amplification, it feels hard to stop.
I think that kind of further hammers in he just got to exist that game. He wasn't the main problem. It was everywhere else onto it. But we do have the man himself standing by, Paul, on the interview with us to kind of close this one out. Paul, congratulations on your victory, first and foremost. Now, I know it's kind of tradition with it. Do you have anybody else, lurking around with you there?
No, not currently.
Not this time around. Well, Paul, first time we get to see Layers kind of joining in onto the team there. What's the synergy looking like after game 1? What's your confidence getting ready to go into the Bolts for your next matchup?
Yeah, we're definitely feeling a lot more confident with Layers right now. We've just been playing really well in scrims, and okay, maybe somebody is with me, so you might see some trolling. But yeah, we're feeling a lot better with Layers right now. We're just feeling good.
Well, it's good. It looked like he had a strong performance for you guys. How do you kind of change up your picks and bans phase? I mean, previously you had Scary D into there. He had kind of a couple of gods that he really favor. What's it like having almost a new picks and bans with him?
Dude, what do you do? Pick and bans is the Ronnie. Wait, honestly, I missed the question because this man's dangling a water glass in front of me. Like, stop, man.
See, he's reminding you and everyone else who's watching that you need to stay hydrated. That way you can win those games. Maybe that should be a lesson towards our guy back in production, Jithens, to take notes onto that one. But a big congratulations to you on your set, Paul. And you got to play Hell again. What's it feel like just getting to freely play Hell in a lot of these games that you've been playing?
Yeah, that game too, man. Like you said, like I kind of did just exist. Like they were just dying before I got to like do anything, man. It's like I'm trying to play the game too, you know? Like, what's going on here?
Well, thank you so much for your time, Paul. Congratulations on the 2-0 victory today.
Thanks.
Just got to exist. Just got to have some fun. We did
Hey,
get a
man.
little bit of trolling in with it, too.
Listen, man. Paul might be upset whenever his team is doing too much work and he doesn't get to play. Not me. Not me. I'm down to get carried at any point. Paul wants to get involved a little bit more, though, and I respect that.
It's always something that you want as your mid laners. You want to be the big playmaker, but sometimes it's good just
Don't
to
need
sit
to.
on the sidelines for this. So we'll take a look at the standings first and foremost. The Tartarus Titans, they end up ruining the potential of the 8-1. Instead, they tied up with 4 with the Oni Warriors with their victory today. Solar Scarabs, again, fall down to the bottom of the standings at that 1-8.
We're curious to see what the Titans are going to do moving forward. I mean, you hear Paul in that interview say that they're feeling a lot more confident with Scary D, or with Scary D on the bench and with Layers in their starting lineup. You have to think that when you hear something like that maybe it might be a little bit more of a permanent solution, but it is just one set. Excited to see what they're going to look like up against the Bolts later on this weekend, because this is going to be a big weekend for the Titans. You know, if they come out of this weekend, or excuse me, they are against the Bolts. I'm sorry. If they come out of this weekend at 2-0 against a Bolts team that was undefeated coming into this week, that's a team that all of a sudden could be on the rise pretty quickly.
It's a big matchup for a lot of teams, especially for the Titans going up against the now defeated Bolts. The Camelot Kings get to take their shot at the Scarabs on Sunday as well. But tomorrow, we're going to have the Jade Dragons and the Valhalla Valkyries facing off yet again. And the Atlantis Leviathans will be taking on the Oni Warriors to see how that little matchup goes through. The rise now of the Leviathans, they're no longer tied in that 3-3 middle pack area. They are on the rise as of recent.
They are, but the Warriors and the Titans now are not too far behind them, so you can't afford to just say, oh, you know, we're chilling, we don't have to worry about it too much, we're going to be A-okay. That's a fairly important set. Those two teams are pretty close in the standings. Leviathans, not a must-win by any stretch, but if they are as good as we think they are, they have to beat the Warriors.
Well, we'll see if the Leviathans are able to continue their streak. We'll see how the Dragons and the Valkyries match play out as well. From all of us here on the casting team, from all of us here in production, that's all we got for you today. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some more SPL action.
Peach it!